ou djinns, sans rien réfuter tant que l'information est authentique, sans chercher à y donner des explications sans fondement ou à chercher à dévier son sens. Allah a montré le cas des impies en disant إنهم كانوا إذا قيل لهم لا إله إلا الله يستكبرون ويقولون إنا لتركون آلهتنا لساحر مجنون. Quand ils entendaient dire qu'il n'y a d'autre Dieu qu'Allah, ils souriaient de dédain et protestaient. Allons-nous nier nos dieux pour un poète en ville? Surat Safat, versets 35 et 36. Allah dit également, le messager a cru en ce qui a été envoyé vers lui de son Seigneur et aussi les croyants. Tous ont cru en Allah, en ses anges, en ses livres et en ses messagers en disant, nous ne faisons aucune distinction entre les messagers. Et ils ont dit, nous avons entendu et obéi. Nous implorons ton pardon et c'est envers toi qu'est notre tour. Surat Baqarah, verset 285. Le contraire de l'acceptation est le refus. Il y a des gens qui connaissent la véritable signification de l'attestation et ses implications, cependant, ils la rejettent par orgueil ou par désobéissance. C'est le cas notamment des savants juifs et chrétiens. Allah dit d'eux, ceux à qui nous avons donné le livre le connaissent comme ils connaissent leurs enfants. Or, une partie d'entre eux cache la vérité, alors qu'ils le savent. Sur le Baqarah, verset 146. Il en va même pour les polythéistes qui se sont enorgueillis plutôt que d'accepter l'attestation et ce qu'elle implique. Allah dit à leur sujet, quand on leur disait La ilaha illallah, pas de divinité digne d'adoration à part Allah, ils se gonflaient d'orgueil. Surat As-Saffat, verset 35. Entre également dans cette catégorie les musulmans qui acceptent une partie des lois de la législation islamique et en rejettent d'autres. Allah dit à ce propos, ô vous qui avez cru, entrez dans l'islam pleinement. Surat Baqarah, verset 208. Le musulman se doit d'accepter toutes les lois de l'islam sans y rien enlever ni en ajouter. Il doit être convaincu de tout son bien et celui de la communauté se trouve dans l'acceptation et l'application de ces lois. Quatrième condition, la soumission. Se soumettre entièrement et obéir à Allah comme il l'a ordonné aux gens. Tournez-vous vers votre Seigneur et soumettez-vous à lui. Surat Az-Zumar, verset 54. C'est la soumission, la résignation à tout ce que l'attestation implique comme action. Cela englobe la soumission à toutes les lois décrétées par Allah. La soumission se concrétise par le fait de se conformer dans tous les domaines ce qu'Allah et son prophète ont légiféré, et en n'en délaissant aucun aspect. Cette soumission implique aussi la soumission au prophète. Toute notre vie doit être réglée à la lumière du Coran et de la Sunna. Il faut donc s'en mettre à Allah et son prophète, être satisfait de la sentence et avoir le cœur lavé de tout rejet, pur de toute opposition. Comprendre que c'est dans cette sentence que se trouve la juste guidée. Il faut donc aussi se conformer à ce que l'attestation exige. La preuve en ce que Abu Talib, l'oncle du prophète, était convaincu de la véracité du message de son neveu, mais comme il n'est pas soumis aux exigences, il ne s'est pas soumis aux exigences de cette conviction, et il a plutôt choisi de rester sur la religion de ses ancêtres polythéistes, il fait partie des gens de l'enfer. Cinquième condition, la sincérité. Être vraiment sincère en prononçant cette attestation, ni mentir et ni en douter. Allah dit dans le Coran, Alif Lam Mim. Les hommes croient-ils qu'en se disant croyants, Allah leur évitera toute épreuve nous avons éprouvé ceux qui les ont précédés. Allah distingue aussi les sincères des menteurs. Sourate Ankabut, versets 1 à 3. D'après Abu Huraira, le messager d'Allah a dit: l'homme qui sera le plus favorisé de mon intercession est celui qui aura témoigné de toute sincérité, de bon cœur, qu'il n'y a d'autre divinité qu'Allah. Rapporté par Bukhari et Muslim. Cette sincérité doit être manifestée par les actes qui rejettent toute forme du polythéisme. Allah dit dans le Coran: وَمَا أُمِرُوا إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ حُنَفَاءَ وَيُقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَيُؤْتُوا الزَّكَاةَ وَذَلِكَ دِينُ الْقَيِّمَةِ. Et pourtant, que leur a-t-on prescrit si ce n'est pas de vouer à Allah un culte exclusif et sincère? Sourate Bayyina, verset 5. Condition numéro 6, aimer l'attestation. Aimer cette attestation et ce qu'elle comporte, ainsi que tous ceux qui l'observent et la mettent en application en se tenant compte d'aucune d'autre parole qui la contredit. Allah le Très-Haut dit: وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَن يَتَّخِذُ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ أَندَادًا يُحِبُّونَهُمْ كَحُبِّ اللَّهِ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَشَدُّ حُبًّا لِلَّهِ. Il y a des hommes pour qui Allah a des égaux qu'ils n'aiment autant que lui. Mais pour ceux qui ont la foi, l'amour d'Allah prime tout. Sourate Baqarah, verset 165. C'est l'amour d'Allah et de son prophète qui doit prédominer sur tout autre amour. La personne aime ce que Allah et son prophète aiment comme lieu, par exemple la Mecque, comme période le Ramadan, comme personne les prophètes et les savants, comme action les prières et les aumônes, comme parole le rappel, c'est-à-dire les doigts et le Coran, et déteste ce qu'Allah et son messager détestent. De sa part, le prophète a dit: quiconque possède ces trois choses goûtera à la douceur de la foi. Aimer Allah et son envoyé plus qu'un autre, ne n'aimer qu'en vue d'Allah et de retourner à l'idolâtrie, comme de répugner d'autres d'être précipité dans le feu. Rapporté par Bukhari et Muslim. Septième condition, mais croire en tout ce qu'on adore en dehors d'Allah. Allah le Très-Haut dit: لا إكراه في الدين قد تبين الرشد من الغي فمن يكفر بالطاغوت ويؤمن بالله فقد استمسك بالعروة الوثقى لا انفصام لها والله سميع عليم. Celui qui rejette l'erreur et qui croit en Allah est semblable à celui qui est accroché à une anse solide, indétachable. Sourate Baqarah, verset 256. Le prophète sallallahu alayhi wa sallam a dit: quiconque aura attesté qu'il n'y a d'autre divinité qu'Allah et mécru en tout ce qu'on adore en dehors de lui aura préservé ses biens et sa vie. Rapporté par Muslim. La parole La ilaha illallah est la première obligation qui incombe aux humains, car elle est la base de l'islam et c'est pour cela que nous avons été créés, l'adoration. Pour terminer, une parole du savant Ibn Taymiyyah, lorsqu'il dit: ces paroles sont pour celui qui dit l'attestation et meurt dans cet état, la prononce avec sincérité du plus profond de son cœur, le cœur convaincu et reposé, et n'ayant aucun doute de véracité et de certitude. Avec véracité et certitude. Qu'Allah nous guide vers ce qu'il aime et qu'il fasse en sorte que nous soyons de ceux qui écoutent le propos et en suivent le meilleur par le cœur, la parole et l'action. La louange à toi, ô Allah, par ta gloire, nous témoignons qu'il n'y a d'autre divinité que toi et nous te demandons pardon et c'est vers toi que nous nous repentons. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر.
Jazakallahu khairan, frère Akram. Nous demandons de l'aide d'Allah à réfléchir sur les conditions de Shahada. Dans la sourate Al-Yusuf, aya 106. وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ أَكْثَرُهُم بِاللَّهِ إِلَّا وَهُم مُشْرِكُونَ. Et la plupart d'entre eux ne croyant en Allah, qu'en lui donnant d'associer le Coran est le miracle de tous les miracles. Beaucoup de ces sujets scientifiques découverts maintenant, qui ont été écrits dans le Coran 1400 ans avant. Deux de ces miracles vont être discutés aujourd'hui. Frère Tanbiz al-Haq va discuter de l'Expanding World and the Big Bang Theory.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah. A'udhu billahi minash shaitani rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin. Kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma barik ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin. كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. I would like to start and thanking Allah, the most merciful and the most graceful, and for letting me share my speech today. And I hope that inshallah He will protect us from all evil and guide us in the right path. Just to let you know what I'm going to say in my project today. Firstly, I will give you an introduction to the Big Bang Theory. Secondly, I will talk about the history on the scientist investigation of the universe's motion. And thirdly, I will talk about the passages from the Quran referring to the Big Bang. As we all know, the Noble Quran, which is considered to be the finest piece of literature, is with no doubt the Book of Allah. Not only is the Quran a guide to mankind's life, but it also touches upon various fields of interest, including science. The Quran, which was revealed approximately 1400 years back, which was a time when human understanding of the nature, cosmos, and movement of heavenly bodies was extremely primitive and obscure, mentions scientific facts which have only been discovered recently by scientists through sophisticated means. One topic which is worth discussing is the theory of the Big Bang. So what exactly is the Big Bang? It was believed in previous years and in recent years proven by prestigious scientists that about 14 billion years ago, the entire universe had been contained in an extremely miniature, dense, and hot bubble of dust and gas, which can also be referred as the primary nebula. A single point in space, which for reasons yet to be discovered had exploded, giving birth to the universe. Time and space, a phenomenon which came to be as known as the Big Bang. After the explosion, tiny particles such as antiquarks and quarks, which form protons and neutrons, which over a period of several years formed all the matters we can see around us. Astronomers combined mathematical tools with careful observations to come up with a conclusion that after the Big Bang, the universe has been expanding, giving away energy and heat at a profound speed and still is till this day. So here's the Big Bang model. You can see that this was like the little dot, the primary nebula, and when it exploded, it started expanding. Now I'll be discussing on how scientists came to thought of how the motion of the universe. In the early years, people from all parts of the world created their own myths about how the world came into being, and its geometric shape by observing the skies and other celestial bodies, such as the moon and the stars. For instance, in the 150 AD, the Ptolemy model of the universe, much like an onion with the stationary Earth at its center and stars and planets arranged in its layers around, was adopted. I have a model that I will be showing you later.
This was the ideology that was also accepted by Christian Church, implying that the Christians did not know how the world came into being. With the invention of the telescope, Galileo discovered the 4 largest moons of the planet Jupiter, demonstrating beyond doubt that not all celestial bodies revolved around the Earth, contrary to the Ptolemy theory. Moons, as we know, only revolve around the respective planet. So if Jupiter has 4 moons, then those moons only revolve around Jupiter and not the Earth. Then the Copernican model, with the sun at the center of the universe and all heavenly body revolving around it, have been confirmed and have become widely accepted in the 17th century. So as you can see, this is the Ptolemy model. This is the Earth at the middle, and this is the onion layers, and all the different kind of celestial bodies rotating around it. But Galileo discovered that the 4 moons of Jupiter, so only moons rotate around Jupiter, so it shows that not everything rotates around the Earth. It is worth noticing that in the Quran, the 89th ayat of Surah An-Naml, it is stated that وَتَرَى الْجِبَالَ تَحْسَبُهَا جَامِدَةً وَهِيَ تَمُرُّ مَرَّ السحاب سُنَّاءَ الَّذِي أَتْكَنَ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ إِنَّهُ خَبِيرٌ بِمَا تَفْعَلُونَ. The mountains that you see, you think they are stationary, while they are constantly floating like the floating of the clouds. Such is the work of Allah, who made everything firm and strong. So, if the mountains are declared to be in a constant motion, then the only logical inference to be drawn from this would be that the Earth is also rotating along with them, thus proving the Ptolemy model to be incorrect. In 1794, astronomer Johann Kepler expanded the idea of the Copernican model by making the assumption that the planets move on an elliptical orbit or oval orbit around the Sun rather than in a circular path. Furthermore, Kepler prepared the idea of gravity by explaining the Sun exerts a force, a gravitational force, on planets that increases with distance, keeping all planets in specific orbit. So the further a planet is located from the Earth, the larger the gravitational force keeping the planets in its orbit. Newton further refined Kepler's notion by postulating the law of universal gravitation that applied to all bodies, supplying the mathematical foundations for it. He went on to demonstrate that, according to this law, planets move on an elliptical orbit, as previously assumed by Kepler. Unfortunately, one consequence of this theory is that the stars of the universe attract each other and thus must eventually collapse onto each other. Newton was not able to give a plausible explanation for why this did not happen in reality. To counter this paradox, it was inferred that the universe is infinite in space and thus contains an infinite number of stars which are evenly distributed, which would on the whole create a gravitational equilibrium. This assumption, however, would still imply instability. If the balance is disturbed in one region, the nearest stars collapse and the gravitational pull of resulting more massive bodies join the next cluster of stars and eventually causing the universe to collapse. Today, we know that this is not the case because the universe is not static, meaning it's not still, as Newton thought. The cosmos is in a state of expansion and therefore gravitational collapse is prevented. Because the universe is expanding in all directions, the gravitational pull of celestial bodies on each other can be ignored. This immediately raised the question that if the universe is expanding, then there must have been a time where the universe was very small. So as you can see, this gentleman right here is Edwin Hubble. Edwin Hubble was the first to prove that the galaxies are moving away from us in all directions with scientific observations. Astronomers can measure the motion of galaxies relative to our planet by observing the redshift and the blue shift. The redshift is a measure of how fast a celestial object is moving relative to our planet. If you have ever stood by the side of a road as a car passed by, you know what redshift is. As a car moves towards you, the pitch of its engine sounds increases. As a car moves away from you, the engine pitch decreases. The reason of this change is Doppler's effect. named after its discoverer, Austrian physicist Christian Doppler. As the car moves towards you, the sound waves from the car are compressed. As the car moves away from you, the sound waves are stretched, as you see in the picture to the right. Imagine you were standing in this small box right here, and the car was advancing to you. The sound waves will be compressed, and that will create a blue shift. But when it goes away from you, the sound waves are stretched, and so that creates a red shift. The same effect happens with light wave. If an object moves towards you, the light waves it emits will be compressed. The wavelength will be shorter, so the light will become bluer. If an object moves away from us, its light waves will be stretched and will become redder. The degree of redshift or blue shift is directly related to the object's speed in the directions we are looking. The speeds of cars are far too small for us to notice any redshift or blue shift, but galaxies are moving fast enough with respect to us that we can see a noticeable shift. Astronomers can measure exactly how much redshift or blue shift a galaxy has by looking at its spectrum. So this is the spectrum. A spectrum measures how much light an object emits as a function of wavelength. So each color of the spectrum corresponds to a different wavelength. The spectra of stars and galaxies almost always show a series of discrete lines that form when certain atoms or molecules emit or absorb light. These spectral emissions and absorption lines always appear at the same wavelength, so they make a convenient marker for redshift or blue shift. So basically, scientists measure the distance between the absorption line and determine which wavelength or which color it corresponds to. So scientists they measure the wavelength, and if it corresponds to the measure over here, then it's a blue shift, or it corresponds to the length over here, it's a red shift. If, for example, the distance corresponds to the blue wavelength, then it means that the illuminated object has been blue shifted relative to us and thus is moving closer to us. Scientists have used the method to come up with the conclusion that illuminated objects like the stars are moving away from us over the years. So as you can, this is the Hubble's law. So the farther a planet or anything is, the faster its speed gets the farther it is, the faster it goes. Like, it moves faster. Although the discovery of the expansion of the universe was first made by Edwin Hubble, some 1400 years ago, it was clearly stated in the Quran in the 48th ayat of Surah Al-Dariyat that وَالسَّمَاءَ بَنَيْنَهَا بِأَيْدٍ وَإِنَّا لَمُؤْسِنُونَ, and the heaven we built with our own powers, aydin, and indeed we go on expanding it. It should be remembered that the concept of this continuous expansion of the universe is exclusive to the Quran. No other divine scriptures even remotely hint at it, implying that Islam is the true religion. The Quran goes and describes the entire cycle of the beginning and the end in the following words, which is very similar to the steps of the Big Bang. In the 31st ayat of Surah Anbiya, it is said, أَوَلَمْ يَرَى الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَنَّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ كَانَتَا رَتْقًا فَفَتَقْنَاهُمَا وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ حَيٍّ أَفَلَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. Do not the unbelievers see that the heavens and the earth were a closed-up mass, ratkan? Then we clove them asunder, and we made them water every living thing. Will they not believe? Authentic Arabic lexicons give two meanings of ratkan that have a great relevance to topic under discussion. One meaning is the coming together of something and consequent infusion into a single entity, and the second meaning is total darkness. Both these meanings are significantly applicable. Take together, they offer an apt description of singularity of a black hole. It is significant that this verse is specifically addressed to non-believers, implying perhaps that the unveiling of the secret mentioned in the verse would be made by non-believers, a sign for them of the truth of the Quran. In the Quran, there are many other scientific facts which are mentioned. For instance, There are facts mentioned about human embryonic development, cosmology, formation of clouds, functioning of cerebrum, deep seas and internal waves, and finally mountains. The Quran truly is a miracle and true words of Allah, as it is the only book that has contained facts long before it has been proven and confirmed by human beings. In order to understand the correlation between Quran and scientific facts, as well gain important life lessons, it is crucial that we all read the Quran with careful understanding on regular basis. And just to finish off, I would like to recite you a hadith. Once Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "The Quran is an intercessor, something given permission to intercede, and it is rightfully believed that whoever puts it in front of him, it will lead him to paradise. Whoever puts it behind him, it will steer him back to hellfire." So on the day of judgment, when you will be held account for your countless sins committed and are most likely to be thrown in the fires of hell, tortured brutally, the only obstacle coming to your rescue is the Holy Quran. Do you really want to be deprived of the protection? It only takes reading one ayat at least per day with careful understanding to save yourself.
Takbir. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
جزاك الله خيرا. Vraag Akram. Vraag. جزاك الله خيرا. Vraag تكبير الحق. Met een afvraag تحصيل الحق. Wat is de la golden ratio?
Islam, may light. Islam, may light after.
Lighter than Islam.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillahi wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. الذي خلق 7 سماوات طباقا ما ترى في خلق الرحمن من تفاوت فارجع البصر هل ترى من فتور ثم ارجع البصر مرتين ينقلب إليك البصر خاسئا وهو حسير. Allah has blessed me to stand here today to speak about and explain the speech, and this is why I'm saying Alhamdulillah. I have recited verse 3 and 4 from the Surah Mulk. In this ayat, Allah said, "Who has created the 7 heavens one above another? You can see no fault in the creation of the Most Gracious. Then look again, can you see any rifts? Then look again and yet again. Your sight will return to you in a state of humiliation and worn out." Allah has created millions and millions of creations. As a human being, it is impossible to count all His creations. Today, I'm going to speak about one of Allah's tiny miracle creation, the golden ratio. So what is the golden ratio? Well, the golden ratio, it is a length, A, the longest line, divided by B, the shortest line. It is also the length of the longest line divided by B, the longest half of the line. Which will then give you 1.618. Now I'm going to show you a demonstration of how I do the golden ratio. So first you take A, the longest line, and I chose a value of 61.77, divided by B, the shortest line, which I chose a value of 38.22. Then I did longest line divided by shortest line, which then will give me 1.618, the golden ratio. Now, I'm going to show you some examples which prove the golden ratio. My first example is in the human body. Let's prove the golden ratio in the human arm. So if I took the longest part of the arm divided by the shortest part of the arm, and I chose a value of 222.5 divided by 137.5, which then would give me 1.618. This is why I can prove, no. So let's see the human, in the human face and the human hand. We could see the golden ratio from, if you took the measure from here divided by the measure to here, it would give you 1.618. If you took the measure from here and divided by here, it would give you 1.618. If you took the measure from here divided by the measure from here, it would give you 1.618. Also from in the hand, you could see in the finger, if you took the toe length, A, divided by the longest half of the line, B, it would give you 1.618. And A divided by B, it would give you 1.618. This way I can prove that each and every body parts of the body is a golden ratio. Isn't this a miracle of Allah? I just proved you the golden ratio in the human body. Now I'll show you some examples from objects and buildings and architectures. So the first one I found was the Pyramid of Giza. I'm going to prove you the golden ratio in this pyramid. So if you took the longest line, 612.01, divided by the shortest line, 377.9, it would almost give you 1.618. Also, you can see in the Parthenon, if you took the longest line A, divided by the shortest line B, it would give you 1.618. I just showed you 4 examples, but there are more than hundreds of examples of the golden ratio. Some other examples I have found are the shell of a snail, the pineapple, an ant, a butterfly, dandelion flowers, and more. What is the golden point of the world? Well, it is mathematically proven that the golden point of the earth is the city of Mecca. If you took the length of the South Pole to Mecca divided by the length from the North Pole to Mecca, it would give you the golden ratio and the golden point of the world. Here is a demonstration of how I found the golden point. So if you took the length from the South Pole to Mecca, which would give you 1,234,000,
832, divided by the length from the North Pole to Mecca, 763,168 kilometers, it would give you 1.618. Isn't this another miracle? Because at that time, when Ibrahim alayhi wasallam created the Kaaba, there was no math, no instruments to measure anything. But now scientists are just finding out that Mecca is the middle of the earth. Why is this amazing? This is truly amazing because scientists and mathematicians are just finding out the golden ratio when it was already said in the Quran 1,400 years ago. Where can we see the golden ratio in the Quran? Well, we can see it in this ayah. Inna awwala bayti wudi'a lin-nasi lalladhi bibaqqata mubarakan wa hudan lil-alamin. Indeed, the first house of worship established for mankind was that at Mecca, blessed and guidance for the world. It is seen in the Surah Al-Imran, verse 96. So, in this ayat, it proves the golden ratio. How you find the golden ratio in this ayat is if you count every letter of this ayat. So if you took inna, there's 3 letters because noon is said 2 times. So it's 1 plus 2 equals 3 letters. And then if you took awwala, there's 4 letters. So, and wow is said 2 times, so it's 1 plus 2 plus 1. And if you counted every letter, all the letters together, it would give you 47. And 29 letters stopped at the letter of Mecca. So it's 47 divided by 29. Which will then give you 1.618. So this is how the Quran proves the golden ratio. So at the beginning I said that Allah created millions and millions of creations and miracles. If we want to discover these miracles, we have to read the Quran with understanding, not just by memorizing the Quran. Allah said in the Surah Sa'd, verse 29, كتاب أنزلناه إليك مبارك ليدبروا آياته وليتذكر أولو الألباب. This is a book, the Quran, which we have sent down to you, full of blessings that they may ponder over its verses, and that the mean of understanding may remember. Also,